Before you go to sleep tonight, I want you to try something. Press your fingertip firmly into the flesh just above your ankle bone. Hold it there for 10 seconds, then pull away and watch what happens. If you see a clear depression that remains visible, a dimple in your skin that refuses to bounce back for 20, 30, even 60 seconds, then what I'm about to tell you could change everything about how you sleep, how your heart functions, and how you age. Because that little crater you just made isn't telling you about table salt. It isn't revealing a cardiac crisis, and in roughly three-quarters of people your age, it has nothing whatsoever to do with the organ everyone assumes is failing. What you're seeing is a backup, a flood happening in slow motion beneath your skin, and the system that's supposed to prevent it has been sitting idle all day long, waiting for a signal you never learned to send. I'm Dr. James Whitemore, and in my 23 years working with aging patients, I've watched the same misunderstanding play out in exam room after exam room. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly why your legs are heavy by dinner time, why you're stumbling to the bathroom 3 times before sunrise, and the 15-minute evening sequence that reverses the entire cascade before you even close your eyes. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're closing in on our first 100,000 members, and every single person who joins helps push this information to someone who's been suffering in silence, convinced their body is simply breaking down. You know exactly what I'm describing. You've lived it. The shoes that fit perfectly at breakfast suddenly feel like vices by lunch. The wedding band that slides on effortlessly in the morning won't budge past your knuckle by the time you're making dinner. You settle into your favorite chair after a long day, and when you finally stand up an hour later, your legs feel like they've been filled with wet sand. You glance down and barely recognize your own ankles. They're puffy, swollen, unrecognizable. And when you bring this up at your next checkup, what's the response? They check your heart. They lecture you about sodium. They hand you a prescription for a diuretic, something to make you urinate more frequently. And maybe it helps a fraction, but for most people over 60, it does virtually nothing, because the fluid causing your misery was never floating in your bloodstream to begin with. It was trapped in your tissues, in the spaces between cells where a diuretic can't touch it. You've been targeting the wrong reservoir this entire time. Let me explain what's actually going on. Your body doesn't have one fluid highway, it has two. The first is the one you learned about in school: blood. Arteries push oxygenated blood outward. Veins return the depleted blood back to your heart. That circuit has a motor. Your heart beats 70 times a minute, pumping constantly, whether you're awake or asleep, sitting or standing. It's automatic. The second system is something almost nobody explains properly. It's called your lymphatic network. This system is responsible for draining the clear, straw-colored fluid that constantly seeps out of your tiniest blood vessels. That fluid bathes every cell in your body. It picks up waste products, cellular debris, bacteria fragments, excess proteins, and most importantly, excess water. Then it has to return all of that back into your bloodstream through an entirely separate set of channels called lymphatic vessels, about 2 liters worth every single day. Here's the part that changes everything. Your lymphatic system has no pump, none, no heart, no automatic motor. It moves only when you move. Imagine a conveyor belt that only runs when someone steps on it. Every time you walk, every time your calf muscles contract, every time you flex your ankle, you're physically squeezing those lymph vessels and pushing fluid upward against gravity. Stop moving, and the belt stops. The fluid just pools. When you're in your 30s, this isn't a catastrophe. Your vessels are elastic and responsive. The tiny valves inside them snap shut cleanly. One brisk walk across a parking lot, and the whole system kicks back into gear within minutes. But after 60, 3 biological shifts happen simultaneously. First, the walls of your lymph vessels stiffen. Second, the one-way valves inside them start to fail and leak backward. Third, the connective tissue surrounding your ankles, the scaffolding that holds everything in place, loses its spring. Fluid leaks out faster than it used to, and your body clears it slower than it used to. The equation stops balancing, the reservoir grows. Before I go further, I need to be very clear about something. There are situations where swollen ankles are not a sluggish drainage issue, they are a medical emergency. If any of these describe you right now, stop watching and get evaluated immediately. First, one leg swells dramatically larger than the other within hours, and it's hot, red, and painful. That can signal a deep vein blood clot. It's dangerous. Get seen today. Second, both legs are swelling and you're struggling to breathe, especially when lying flat. You're waking up gasping. You can't climb stairs without stopping halfway. That pattern suggests your heart is straining beyond its capacity. That's not something you manage alone. Third, swelling plus sudden weight gain, 4 or 5 pounds in a week, combined with urine that looks foamy or frothy. That triad points to your kidneys leaking protein. You need labs this week. Fourth, swelling on just one side, firm to the touch, painless, in someone who's had cancer treatment or surgery in that area. That could indicate blocked lymph nodes and requires imaging. If none of those apply to you, if your swelling builds gradually, affects both legs equally, worsens as the day progresses, improves overnight, and you're breathing fine at rest, then what I'm about to teach you is designed for you. There are 3 distinct patterns of chronic leg swelling in older adults. They look almost identical on the surface, but have completely different origins. Pattern 1 is venous. Your veins can't push blood back up to your heart efficiently. The valves inside have broken down. Blood stagnates, pressure climbs, and water is forced through the vessel walls into surrounding tissue. You'll usually notice bulging varicose veins, a brownish staining on your shins, and the swelling gets drastically worse if you've been standing all day. Pattern 2 is lymphatic, and this is what we're focusing on today. Lymph drainage has slowed to a crawl. The tissue becomes waterlogged. The swelling feels soft, leaves a pit when you press it, and often extends onto the top of the foot, the area just behind your toes. When lymph swelling has been present for years, the skin on top of your foot becomes so thick you physically cannot pinch it. That's a clinical marker, and it points directly at lymph, not veins. Pattern 3 is cardiac or renal. Your heart or kidneys aren't managing total body fluid properly. The swelling is symmetrical, worsens throughout the day, and critically, it comes with additional red flags: shortness of breath, waking repeatedly to urinate, crushing fatigue, rapid weight gain. If you're in pattern 3, you need a full workup. Most people over 60 with evening ankle swelling and no breathing trouble fall into pattern 2. Lymph. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Richard, 64 years old, retired firefighter, walked into my office convinced his heart was on the verge of collapse. For nearly 3 years, his ankles had been swelling progressively. At first, barely noticeable, then significant enough that he had to buy new shoes. Then, new shoes again. He mentioned it during a routine physical. They ran an echocardiogram. His heart's pumping function came back at 58%, perfectly normal, but Richard was still swelling. They prescribed a diuretic. He took it faithfully for 8 months. He was in the bathroom constantly, exhausted, dehydrated, and still swollen. Then he said something that unlocked the entire puzzle. He said, "The strangest part is when I go on vacation and I'm walking around all day, my ankles actually look better." That was the key. Movement made it better. Sitting made it worse. His heart was fine. His kidneys were fine. His veins showed only minor age-related wear. What Richard had was a lymphatic drainage failure that no pill on earth could fix because the water wasn't circulating in his blood. It was sitting stagnant in his tissues. Here's what happens inside Rich's body every single day, and very likely inside yours. He wakes up. Ankles look normal. He's been horizontal for 8 hours. Gravity hasn't been dragging fluid downward, and his lymph system has had all night to slowly clear yesterday's backlog. By morning, he's almost reset. He gets up, eats breakfast, sits at the table for an hour, drives to the hardware store, sits for 20 minutes, sits at his workbench for 3 hours, eats lunch, sits again. By mid-afternoon, he's been upright but barely moving for 6 or 7 hours. Fluid has been quietly leaking from his capillaries into the tissue of his calves and ankles the entire time. His calf muscles have barely fired. The lymph conveyor belt has barely turned. The fluid just accumulates, invisible, a tablespoon at a time. By evening, the indentation from his sock elastic is unmistakable. By 9, his wedding ring won't come off. By 10, he lies down to sleep. And now the real chaos begins. All that pooled fluid in his ankles, no longer held down by gravity, begins to slowly redistribute back into his bloodstream. His heart suddenly receives an unexpected surge of volume. His kidneys sense the flood and go into overdrive, generating urine. He wakes at 1 in the morning, again at 3:30, again at 5. By 6, he's wiped out. The cycle starts over. 2 quick self-tests. Takes 30 seconds total. Test 1, the indentation test. Find the ridge of bone along the front of your shin, about 4 inches above your ankle. Press your thumb in hard. Hold for 15 seconds. Release and observe. If there's a visible dent that takes 10 seconds or longer to disappear, you have pitting edema. Grade 1 is shallow. Grade 2 is deeper and lasts longer. Grade 3 is a deep crater lasting over a minute. Make a mental note. You'll retest in 2 weeks after following the protocol, and the difference will be measurable. Test 2, the skin pinch test. Try to pinch the skin on top of your foot, right behind your second toe. If you can easily lift it into a fold, your lymph is flowing. If the skin won't lift at all, if it feels glued down, you have advanced lymphatic congestion. This is called a positive stemmer sign, and it's one of the simplest clinical indicators of chronic lymph backup. 3 habits that make lymph swelling worse. Most people over 60 do all 3 every single day without realizing it. First, hidden sodium. Not the salt shaker, the invisible sodium in cheese, deli meats, canned soups, bread, sauces, restaurant meals, frozen dinners. Sodium drags water out of your blood and into your tissues. Your body retains roughly 4 cups of water for every extra gram of sodium. Most Americans over 60 consume double the sodium they estimate. Second, sitting after dinner. The hours between 7 and 10 at night, when you finally relax on the couch, are the exact hours your legs are pulling in the most fluid. 3 hours of stillness after your heaviest meal creates the worst possible setup for overnight reabsorption. Third, alcohol. Even 1 glass of wine in the evening dilates your capillaries, increases the rate of fluid leak into tissues, and suppresses the hormone that tells your kidneys to slow down overnight. 1 drink and your ankles will be visibly worse by morning. Now the other side, things that support lymph flow. Water. This sounds backwards. Most people with swelling drink less water, thinking more water means more swelling. The opposite is true. Dehydration thickens lymph, making it sluggish. A well-hydrated body has thin, fast-moving lymph. Aim for roughly half your body weight in ounces, spread across the day, tapering after 5 in the afternoon. Foods rich in flavonoids, compounds that strengthen tiny blood vessel walls and reduce leakage. Best sources: dog berries, buckwheat, citrus peel, red cabbage. A cup of berries daily has measurable vascular effects within 8 weeks. Protein. Low blood protein, specifically low albumin, is a hidden driver of tissue swelling in older adults. Albumin holds water inside your blood vessels. When it drops, water escapes into tissues and stays there. Many older adults are mildly protein deficient without knowing it. 2 servings of quality protein daily, eggs, fish, chicken, lentils, cottage cheese, directly improves fluid balance. Magnesium, deficient in most people over 60. Critical for smooth muscle tone, including lymph vessel walls. Best food sources: pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, almonds. Now, the 15-minute evening protocol that drains your ankles before bed. This is the center of everything. Pay close attention. Morning. Before your feet touch the floor, while still lying in bed, do 30 ankle pumps. Point your toes down, flex them back toward your face. 30 times, takes 45 seconds. This restarts lymph flow after 8 hours of stillness and prevents fluid from rushing downward the instant you stand. Daytime. Every hour you're sitting, do 20 calf raises. Heels on the ground, lift your toes up and down, or stand and rise onto the balls of your feet 20 times. Takes 30 seconds. Keeps the conveyor belt moving all day so fluid never gets a chance to pile up. Set a phone alarm if needed. Before dinner, 5 minutes of slow walking. Not exercise, just movement. Around the block, through the house, across the yard. Walking activates deep calf muscles in ways seated pumps cannot. Evening, 90 minutes before bed. This is the critical intervention. Lie on the floor or your bed. Place your legs straight up against a wall at roughly 90 degrees. Heels higher than hips, hips higher than heart. Stay there for 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, do slow ankle circles, 10 in each direction. Then alternating ankle flexes, 20 total. Then, while still inverted, place both hands on your belly and breathe deeply through your nose, letting your abdomen rise for 3 full minutes. Slow, deep diaphragmatic breathing activates the thoracic duct, the main drainage trunk of your entire lymph system, which sits directly behind your diaphragm. Every deep breath is literally pumping lymph. After 15 minutes, slowly roll to your side, sit up, and do something simple but powerful. Starting at your ankle, use the flat of your fingers to stroke the skin upward toward your knee. Slow, gentle, always toward the heart, never downward. 10 strokes per leg. This is simplified manual lymphatic drainage, and it physically pushes fluid from tissues into lymph capillaries. Right after this sequence, you'll feel the urge to urinate. You'll release 300 to 400 milliliters of pale urine. That's the fluid that would have otherwise woken you at 2 in the morning. You just drained it while awake and in control. Richard followed this protocol for 3 weeks. By the end of week 1, his sock marks were gone by morning. By week 2, he wasn't waking at night. By week 3, his ankles at 9 in the evening were the size they used to be at 9 in the morning. His echocardiogram hadn't changed. His prescriptions hadn't changed. What changed was his lymph system was finally getting its work shift at a time that fit his life, instead of scrambling all night while he tried to sleep. 5 actions for tonight. 1. Do the indentation test right now. Know your grade. Write it down. 2. Eliminate one source of hidden sodium tomorrow. For most people, it's cheese, deli meat, or canned soup. Pick the biggest offender and replace it for 2 weeks. 3. Before dinner tonight, walk for 5 minutes, not later. Before dinner. 4. 90 minutes before bed, legs up the wall for 15 minutes. Deep belly breathing for 3 of those minutes. 10 upward strokes on each calf when you finish. 5. Tomorrow morning, 30 ankle pumps before your feet hit the floor. Do this for 2 weeks. Retest the indentation. You'll be shocked by the change. One last request. Leave a comment telling me 2 things. First, how old are you? The age range of this audience directly shapes which topics I prioritize next. And second, where are you watching from? City, state, country? I want to see how far this message is traveling because it helps me understand who needs this information most. If someone you care about has ankles that swell by evening, send them this video. They've almost certainly been told it's their heart. They've almost certainly been given a pill that doesn't address the real mechanism. You might give them the explanation nobody else bothered to offer. Your ankles aren't failing you. They're a drainage system that stopped receiving the movement signals it needs to function. Give it 15 minutes a day, and the change isn't subtle. It's the kind of transformation you see in the mirror, feel in your shoes, and notice the first morning you wake up without needing to check if your ankles are still yours.